Hi, this is Eric Michael Lloyd. I have a master's in psychology, neuropsychology concentration. I wanted to read a research article regarding uh, family cohesion and enmeshment. This article is from the Journal of Family Psychology, JFP, Journal of the Division of Family Psychology of the American Psychological Association, Division 43. The article's title is Family Cohesion and Enmeshment, Moderate Associations Between Maternal Relationship Instability and Children's Externalizing Problems. The authors are Jesse L. Coe, Patrick T. Davies, and Melissa L. Sturge Apple. Abstract. This study examines the moderating roles of two different types of family level closeness, i.e., family cohesion and enmeshment, and associations between maternal relationship instability and children's externalizing problems in early childhood. Participants in this longitudinal, i.e., two waves of data collection spaced over 2 years apart, multi-method, i.e., survey and observations, multi-informant, parent-teacher-observer study included 243 preschool children, mean age was 4.6 years old, and their parents. Findings from the lagged autoregressive tests of the predictive pathways indicated that family cohesion and enmeshment moderated associations between maternal relationship instability and increases in children's externalizing problems. Maternal relationship instability was a significantly stronger predictor of children's externalizing problems when cohesion was low or enmeshment was high. Follow-up analysis revealed that cohesion predicted decreases in externalizing problems only at higher levels of instability. Conversely, higher levels of enmeshment predicted increases in children's externalizing problems at high instability, but decreases in externalizing symptoms under more stable family conditions. Externalizing symptoms characterized by conduct problems, oppositional defiance, and overt hostility pose a critical problem for children in school settings and have substantial societal costs. Doshi et al. 2012, Foster, Jones, and the Conduct Problems Prevention Group 2005. The search for family risk factors, maternal relationship instability, characterized by intimate partner relationship transitions, for example, starts of new relationships, breakups, moving in with a partner, has been identified as a consistent precursor of externalizing problems in childhood. Ackerman, Brown, D. Aramo, and Izzard, 2002, Backman, Coley, and Carano, 2011, Fomley and Cherlin, 2007, Osborne and McLenahan, 2007. During early childhood, children are forming expectancies about the consistency of their care and salient figures in their lives. Therefore, disruptions in the home environment and caregiving arrangements are posited to be especially potent in this time period. Bachman et al., 2011. For example, empirical documentation of heightened and protracted vulnerability of young children exposed to instability in family contexts suggests that the first 5 years of life, i.e., the time before children enter formal schooling, serve as a period of greater susceptibility for children. Belsky, Schlomer, and Ellis, 2012, Kavanaugh and Houston, 2006, Donahue et al., 2010, Doom, Van Zumeren, Dom, and Simpson, 2016, Simpson, and Grishkevicius, Kuhl, Sung, and Collins, 2012. In fact, Some studies have shown that exposure to instability in early childhood serves as a stronger and more consistent predictor of psychological problems later in childhood and adolescence than subsequent or current assessments of instability. Kavanaugh and Houston, 2008, Donahue et al., 2010, Simpson et al., 2012. By the same token, significant variability is evident in the outcomes of children who experience high levels of maternal relationship instability. A model 2010, Bachman et al. 2011, Davies and Surjapel 2014. For example, experiencing multiple relationship transitions has not uniformly been linked with worse adjustment for children than exposure to a single transition. Carlson and Corcoran, 2001. However, in spite of apparent variability in the sequelae of children exposed to maternal relationship instability, little is known about the role of the broader family climate in altering the risk associated with instability. In fact, although significance is ascribed to family-level processes as sources of heterogeneity, see Hetherington and Stanley Hagen, 1999, only one study has explored family climate as a moderator of instability. Specifically, Kavanaugh and Huston, 2006, found that general family support served as a protective factor, reducing the magnitude of the association between parental relationship transitions and teacher reports of first grade children's problem behavior. In building on this research direction, the goal of the current study was to provide the first longitudinal test of how different patterns of family relatedness, i.e., cohesion and enmeshment, identified in family systems theory, FST, Cox and Paley, 1997, may moderate associations between children's early experiences with maternal relationship instability and their later externalizing problems during the transition from preschool to first grade. According to FST, family systems theory, the holistic climate of the family can be understood based on organizations of interactions within and across dyads or subsystems. For example, mother-father, mother-child, and father-child. Metaphorical boundaries allow for differentiation between these smaller subsystems within the larger family system. They serve as implicit rules for defining and understanding family relationships according to both the amount and quality of resources, for example, warmth, autonomy support, and information transmitted across family subsystems. Mnuchin, 1974. In other words, differences in types of boundaries guide how family members naturally interact with one another and the degree to which they involve one another in family activities, for example, decision making and conflict. In this boundary framework, FST, family systems theory, differentiates between two types of family closeness, which may alter associations between maternal relationship instability and children's externalizing problems, family cohesion and enmeshment. Excuse me. Family cohesion. Families high in cohesion exhibit clear and flexible boundaries that permit each family member to function within subsystems without the interference of other members, but also access to resources from the larger family system when needed. Cox and Paley, 1997, Jacobowitz, Hazen, Curran, and Hitchens, 2004, Mnuchin, 1974, Surjapel, Davies, and Cummings, 2010. Thus, cohesiveness is marked by the provision of support, warmth, and intimacy across different family subsystems without compromising the autonomy or emotional well-being of any member. Cox and Paley, 1997, Mnuchin, 1974, Surjapel, et al., 2010. When disruptive events in the family, for example, maternal relationship transitions, do occur, the well-defined boundaries between family subsystems are reflected in the encapsulation of the difficulties within the specific subsystem, for example, interparental subsystem. Thus, the problems experienced by the subsystem do not proliferate in any way that entangles other family members, for example, the child. Davies and Serge-Apple, 2014, Keurig, 1995. Given that these families are able to successfully encapsulate problems, we hypothesize that family cohesion will serve as a protective factor, buffering children from the risk conferred by maternal relationship instability. Family cohesion is a protective factor, is their hypothesis. Drawing on the well-established taxonomy of protective factors in developmental psychopathology, Luther, Sicchetti, and Becker, 2000, the protective role of family cohesion may operate in a couple of different ways, depending on how it confers protection in the presence of different levels of risk. First, as shown in Figure 1a, the protective stabilizing model proposes that family cohesion is associated with uniformly low levels of externalizing problems across levels of maternal relationship instability. Whereas instability is a relatively weak predictor of changes in externalizing problems at high levels of cohesion, see solid line Figure 1a, it may take an exponentially greater toll on children when cohesion is low, see the dotted line in Figure 1a. Therefore, because families high in cohesion may be able to manage the emotional ramifications of unstable events in the interparental system, it is possible that children from these families may be less adversely affected by high maternal relationship instability. Alternatively, the protective reactive form of moderation shown in Figure 1b posits that the protection afforded by cohesion is particularly robust when instability is low, but loses much of its buffering power for children faced with high instability. In other words, although children from more cohesive families tend to be at lower risk of developing externalizing problems than children from less cohesive homes, the difference becomes less pronounced as children's exposure to instability and the corresponding potency of its risk increases. Given the paucity of research exploring family cohesion as a moderator of instability, we test the relative value of protective stabilizing versus protective reactive models in examining cohesion as a buffer in the prospective association between maternal relationship instability and children's externalizing problems. Family enmeshment. Highly enmeshed families tend to have boundaries that are overly diffuse and permeable, causing family members to become emotionally entangled with one another. Mnuchin, 1985. Enmeshment can take the form of A. Conditional access to resources, for example, conditional support, that occurs at the cost of hindering individual autonomy, or B. Distress and hostility that seamlessly spills over across subsystems and immerses individuals in the ongoing issues in the family. Mnuchin, 1974, 1985. A main premise is that the high level of interdependency increases children's preoccupation with and sensitivity to family stress. So the main premise is that the high level of interdependency increases the children's preoccupation with and family sensitivity to family stress. Davies and Surjapple, 2014, Foreman and Davies, 2005, Carrig, 2005. Therefore, we hypothesize that family enmeshment will serve as a potentiating factor, exacerbating the risk posed by maternal relationship instability for the development of children's externalizing problems. The potentiating effect may assume two primary forms within moderator models of developmental psychology: Davies, Coe, Martin, Surjapple, and Cummings, 2015, Luther et al., 2000. On the one hand, the vulnerable reactive form of risk, see Figure 1c, proposes that high enmeshment amplifies the risk of maternal relationship instability. Thus, although instability is theorized to predict greater behavior problems for children across different levels of enmeshment, it is assumed to pose a particularly pronounced risk when enmeshment is high. See the solid line in Figure 1c. On the other hand, the vulnerable adaptive model, see Figure 1d, posits that tendencies for enmeshed children to exhibit high concern for family members' welfare may confer significant psychological disadvantages when maternal relationship instability is high, but also potential developmental benefits in homes with more stable maternal relationships. Therefore, as is shown by the steep slope in the solid line in Figure 1d, the vulnerable adaptive and vulnerable reactive models share the assertion that associations between maternal relationship instability and externalizing problems will be particularly pronounced for children in highly enmeshed families. However, the key difference is that the vulnerable adaptive model proposes that higher levels of family enmeshment may be associated with better child adjustment in stable homes. We test the relative viability of the vulnerable reactive and vulnerable adaptive models for family enmeshment. Present study. The present study is the first longitudinal test of how FST, family systems theory, characterizations of the emotional climate of the family, for example, the family cohesion and enmeshment, may moderate associations between children's early experiences with instability in maternal intimate relationships and their later externalizing problems during the transition from preschool to first grade. As an important developmental milestone, the transition into formal educational settings provides a unique opportunity to understand how children's experiences with early family relationships may shape how they adjust to extra-familial contexts. Thus, by virtue of their novelty and challenges, school settings are salient contexts for children to draw on prior family experiences as a way to understand the unfamiliarity and complexity of new situations. Davies, Winter, and Chetty, 2006. Supporting this conceptualization, prior research has identified characteristics of children's early family relationships to be significant predictors of their behavioral and emotional adjustment to school. Clark and Ladd, 2000, National Institute of Child Health and Human Development Early Child Care Research Network, 2004. Additionally, quantitative psychologists have emphasized the importance of utilizing longitudinal data in which the predictor and outcome are temporarily separated with autoregressive controls specified for the outcome in obtaining accurate assessments of predictor-outcome relationships. Cole and Maxwell, 2003, Gallup and Reichart, 1991. Therefore, in our two-wave longitudinal design, we examined instability and its interplay with family enmeshment and cohesion at the first measurement occasion as predictors of subsequent changes in children's externalizing symptoms 2 years later. To reduce the operation of common method and informant variance in the analyses, we utilized a multi-method surveys and observations, multi-informant, observer, parent, and teacher approach to assessing the key constructs. Analysis control for child sex and total household income per capita based on empirical documentation of associations with family processes. Conger and Conger, 2002, McCoby and Jacqueline, 1974, Wauchope and Strauss, 1990, and Child Adjustment, Ackerman, Brown, and Izzard, 2004, Campbell, Shaw, and Gilliam, 2000, Conger, and Martin, 2010. Methods. Participants. Participants included 243 families, mother, intimate partner, and preschool child, residing in a moderate-sized metropolitan area in the northeastern United States. The sample was recruited through flyers and informational presentations at local preschools, Head Start agencies, women, infants, and children, WIC programs, and public and private daycares serving children and families from a variety of demographic backgrounds. To be eligible for participation, primary caregivers had to currently have an intimate partner who evidenced regular contact, average of 2 to 3 days per week, with the caregiver and child over the majority of the year, for example, the last 10 months, not necessarily continuously, prior to Wave 1. Children must have been within 1 year of enrolling in kindergarten, and only one child per family was eligible to participate. The two measurement occasions for this study were spaced 2 years apart, and the retention rate from Wave 1 to Wave 2 was 91%. Comparisons of families lost to attrition and those who participated in both waves along the 11 study variables used in the primary analysis yielded only one significant difference. Families participating in both waves evidenced significantly lower total household income per capita. In thousands, the mean average was 9.23, standard deviation was 5.81. Than those who dropped from the study. In thousands, the average was 13.35, standard deviation 8.83. T 273 was equal to 2.94, with the p-value lesser than 0.01. The average age of a child participant was 4.6 years, standard deviation was 0.44 at Wave 1, and 6.81 years, standard deviation was 0.48 at Wave 2. At Wave 1, the average age of participating mothers was 30.76 years, standard deviation is 6.31, and the average age of participating partners was 33.63 years, standard deviation is 7.91. Of child participants, 47% were the mother's firstborn child, and 21% were the mother's only biological child. Almost half, 48% of the families, were Black or African American, 43% were white, and 9% multiracial or another race. Approximately 16% of family members were Latino. Median household income of families was $36,000 per year. The range was from $2,000 to $121,000, with most families, 69%, receiving public assistance. Median education for parents consisted of a GED or high school diploma. At Wave 1, parents had lived together an average of 3.36 years and had, on average, daily contact with each other and the child. Range equals from 2 or 3 days a week to daily. Of adults, 99% of mothers and 74% of partners were biological parents of the target child. 47% of adults were married. Procedures and measures. Parents and children visited our research center laboratory for 2 waves of data collection. At each wave, teachers completed and mailed questionnaires about children's behaviors. Families and teachers were compensated monetarily for participation. Parents gave written consent for themselves and for their child to participate. Ethical permission for the study was granted by the university's Institutional Review Board. Maternal relationship instability. At Wave 1, mothers completed the Family Instability Questionnaire, FIQ. Ackerman, Kogos, Youngstrom, Schroff, and Izzard, 1999. Foreman and Davies, 2003. 3 items assessed the total number of intimate relationship transitions experienced in the last year. For example, the start of the new relationship, breakups, moving in with the partner. The scale consisted of the sum of items. Sample range was from 0 to 8 transitions. Speaking to the variability in instability reported by mothers in our sample, each item was endorsed by a sizable portion of mothers. For example, 46% of mothers reported at least one unstable event over the previous year. Specifically, 35% of mothers reported that they experienced at least one instance of becoming involved in a serious romantic relationship in the last year. The sample mean average was 0.56, the standard deviation was 1.24. 30% reported at least one instance of moving in with a serious romantic partner. Sample mean was 0.34, the standard deviation was 0.59. And 20% reported at least one instance of breaking up with or separating from a romantic partner. Sample mean is 0.42 and the standard deviation was 1.58. Prior research supports the validity of the maternal relationship instability assessment. Bachman et al. 2011, Kavanaugh and Houston 2006, Donahue et al. 2010. Family cohesion and enmeshment. At Wave 1, families, mothers, partner, and child participated in a family interaction task. In this 10-minute task, families were instructed to work together to build a house of Legos that closely resembled a picture version. The family was then left alone to complete the activity. The task was video recorded for subsequent coding. Given the dearth of observational assessments and family boundaries, we used prior family interaction coding systems. Djokovic et al. 2004, Lindhall and Malik 2000 as a guide in developing 2 9-point scales ranging from 1, not at all characteristic, to 9, highly characteristic, to access families' boundary patterns. The cohesion scale assesses the extent to which the family's interaction reflects a balanced concern for all family members, emotional and psychological well-being, so there is some flexibility, permeability, and access to resources, support, warmth, intimacy across relationships, but it occurs within appropriate, well-defined boundaries that do not compromise any one member's autonomy. In families rated highly in cohesion, flexibility in boundaries is reflected by the ability of all 3 members to be responsive to each other's bids for attention and comment in warm or supportive ways, work as a team to build the house, and respect and support each other's individuality, personal decisions, and contributions. For example, all 3 members interact in ways that encourage and facilitate their contributions to the activity. For example, mother may make comments to build the father up to the child. Child, see how your daddy has found the blue piece? Can you find one like it? Complimenting the father while giving the child suggestions without being over-controlling, for example. Additionally, cohesive families often display positive affect, smiling, nods, jokes, signs of enjoyment, and displays of affection. pet names, compliments, statements, liking, or appreciation throughout the interaction. The well-defined part of the descriptor reflects the teamwork and synchrony is expressed in a way that also supports the individual contributions and personal decisions of each family member. For example, parents may recognize the need to support exploration of the child within the context of the task by structuring activities that offer choices for the child in their role in the task. For example, do you think we should put this yellow piece here? And praising the child for accomplishments in the task. In a cohesive family, members may direct one another's behavior by giving choices for what to do next, therefore, providing direction without compromising individual contributions. In contrast, the enmeshment scale assesses the extent to which boundaries are overly diffuse or permeable. High scores on enmeshment are reserved for families where all members are overly involved in one another's activities. For example, repeatedly interrupt or talking over one another, over rely on others for help, grab Legos out of each other's hands. While members may express some degree of conditional warmth and positivity when the activity is going well, for example, parents may say, "We're doing such a good job. We're building the best house," when the family has made progress in making a house that looks like the picture. They may also quickly become critical or hostile until other members meet their standards or acknowledge their perspective. A parent may say, "I told you we shouldn't put that piece there. Now it looks bad. Put the red piece on instead." When another family member put a piece on the house and the parent did not like it. Family members may also impede on one another's individual contributions to the task. For instance, whereas in a cohesive family, family members may give direction by giving the others a choice of what to do next. Do you think we should put the yellow piece here? In an enmeshed family, family members may hover over one another and give commands or direct requests, denying the others of opportunity to make their own individual contributions to the task. For example, "You really need to put the yellow piece here." Two trained coders independently rated 20% of the videos throughout the entire coding process to assess inter-rater reliability and to monitor and address rater drift. Inter-class correlation coefficients were 0.92 for cohesion and 0.88 for enmeshment. Although these codes are being used for the first time in the present study, findings from supplementary analyses support their validity. For example, consistent with family systems theory and previous empirical work, Johnson, Cohen, and Cohen, 1994, Keurig, 1995, Richmond and Stocker, 2006, Surjapel et al., 2010, higher ratings on our cohesion code at wave 1 were significantly correlated with teachers' reports of lower levels of child classroom difficulties in preschool and first grade. For example, lower inattention, fewer externalizing problems, higher prosocial behavior, and greater school engagement. Also consistent with theory and prior research, Barber and Buehler, 1996, Jakubowicz et al., 2004, Mnuchin, 1974, Surjapel et al., 2010, higher ratings of enmeshment at wave 1 were significantly correlated with teacher-reported classroom difficulties. For example, less engagement in classroom activities and higher rates of teacher-child conflict, and indices of internalizing symptoms. For example, asocial behavior and social withdrawal. Additionally, our codes were found to be related to other measures of family processes. For instance, higher cohesion ratings were significantly and positively correlated with both maternal and paternal reports of family cohesion on the family adaptation and cohesion scales. Bases 3, Olson, 1986. Children's externalizing problems. Teachers teacher reports on 3 scales from the MacArthur Health and Behavioral Questionnaire, HBQ, Abloh et al., 1999, were used as indicators of latent construct of children's externalizing problems at wave 1, for example, when the child were in preschool, and wave 2, when the child were in the first grade. These included overt hostility, 4 items, for example, the kid kicks, bites, or hits other children, conduct problems, 10 items, physically attacks people, and oppositional defiant, 9 items, for example, defiant talks back to adults scales. Each scale consisted of the sum of items, and internal consistencies for the scales across the 2 waves range from 0.80 to 0.92. Prior research supports the reliability and validity of the HBQ scales for assessing young children's psychological adjustment. See Abloh et al., 1999. Covariates. Two demographic covariates derived from a maternal interview at wave 1 included A. Children's sex, 1 for girls, 2 for boys, and B. Total household income per capita, calculated by dividing the total annual household income by the number of residents in the home. I'm going to go ahead and leave it off for there. The next part will be the results, which include the descriptive analysis and primary analysis. Thank you for your time. I'll read the rest of Family Cohesion and Enmeshment, Moderate Associations from the Journal of Family Psychology, 2018, April, volume 32, section 3, page 289 through 298. I'll read the rest, including the results, in the next video. Thank you for your time.